In 2012, over 4,700 pedestrians were killed and another 75,000 were injured by motor vehicles in the U.S. Approximately 2,000 of these fatalities happened at a crosswalk or where a crosswalk was available. There are several contributing factors to these deaths, but inattention on the part of the pedestrian or the driver is one of the main causes.
So the front wheels rolled over?
It had to.
As a transit or paratransit operator, a crucial element of your job is expecting the unexpected and defending against the errors of others. This is especially important when operating large vehicles around vulnerable road users, such as pedestrians and bicyclists, who may be oblivious to their surroundings or think the painted lines and lights of a crosswalk offer enough protection from injury or worse while crossing traffic. Your training, experience, attention to detail, and professionalism are the only things between your vehicle and potential tragedy. To help reduce the risk of bus-to-pedestrian contact, one of the best driving habits you can use is to square your turns. You've heard the safety and training staff within your organization preach for years to square your turns at intersections, especially while making a left turn. But what exactly does that mean to you? And what are the safety advantages of squaring your turn as opposed to a shortened or sweeping turn? Take a minute, we'll explain, try to answer those questions. Let's start by taking another look at the actions of our operator. Notice how the operator appears to have a fixed stare and isn't rocking and rolling in the seat? Keeping your head and eyes moving is a fundamental of safe vehicle operation. When negotiating a turn, it's even more important to be aware of your surroundings and do your best to eliminate blind spots. By rocking back and forth, left and right in the seat, you will be better able to see what may be obstructed by roof pillars, mirror housings, sun visors, and navigation devices. A pedestrian, bicyclist, or person using a wheelchair can easily be hidden from your view behind these items, or may be distracted by the 3 H's: handheld devices, hoodies, and headphones. Remember, keep your head and eyes moving, and check your mirrors often to be aware of everything going on around your vehicle. Our operator does not have a safe grip on the steering wheel. Obviously, the steering wheel is the main controlling device for your vehicle. It is not a place to simply rest your hands. You must always have both hands on the steering wheel while the vehicle is in motion and never use the spokes of the wheel for turning. Employ the push-pull or hand-over-hand steering methods depending on the situation. The positive control of the vehicle is literally in your hands. The operator is taking the most direct route from the starting to end point in the intersection. This is called a sweeping turn. The operator is looking at the point of the intersection where she wants to end up and not at the bigger picture around her. Although the brakes may be covered, the operator has taken an angle that reduces a wider view of the intersection. In this position, the operator has to look over her left shoulder to see if a pedestrian has entered the intersection from the far curbside, further making this maneuver unsafe by taking her eyes off the direction the vehicle is traveling. Also, note how close the bus will come to the opposing vehicle stop at the light or the stop sign. What if those vehicles weren't stopped behind the stop line in their lane? The chances of a vehicle collision are increased, not to mention the pedestrians who could be in the crosswalk. Up to the moment of contact with the pedestrian, our operator did not decrease speed and in fact accelerated to maintain momentum. By taking a more direct route to the far side of the intersection, there is less chance the operator will be prepared to stop the vehicle. The sweeping turn generally requires the operator to accelerate, naturally meaning a longer stopping distance once the danger is recognized. The fact is, our operator is only saving about 3 seconds by cutting the turn short, and the maneuver exhibits an aggressive and forceful visual to the public. As seen from above, the starting point is represented by A and the end point C. We just saw our operator make the turn in a sweeping movement, represented by the red dotted line. We now realize that this driving habit can be deadly. Now let's see what it looks like when our driver squares the turn at an intersection and practices safer driving techniques. This is represented by the green dotted line, A to B to C. Sounds simple enough, but how do you square the turn? And why is this a safer maneuver? Our operator is rocking and rolling, keeping her head and eyes moving. Notice the body and eye movements of our operator, getting the big picture by eliminating blind spots caused by interior obstructions. She's also glancing at the mirrors. Note the positive control of the steering wheel and the use of both hands. She knows her vehicle will only perform as well as she operates it and does not have a casual grip on the wheel. Remember, 2 + 2 equals safety. 2 hands on the wheel and 2 eyes on the road at all times. In addition to being aware of her surroundings and controlling the direction of the vehicle, our operator slows to a coast and covers the brake pedal in anticipation of stopping if a hazard is detected. The vehicle should only be traveling at 3 to 5 miles per hour, and there's no reason to accelerate through the intersection by entering on a green light and making sure the road was clear for the turn. Keeping her upper body and eyes moving, the operator has a clear view of what's in front of and around the vehicle. She keeps the bus parallel with the crosswalk she will be turning into, staying as far outside the intersection as possible. The pivot point, indicated by the yellow line, is the point where the operator's shoulders are even with the center lane divider. This should be your reference spot that tells you when to start the turn. Without accelerating more than necessary, the operator then turns the vehicle sharply left, following a 90-degree angle until the bus is fully facing the crosswalk. Our operator now has the clearest, widest view of the intersection possible and of any pedestrians that may be crossing from either curb. Now that the unit is squared, while continuing to rock and roll, only slight acceleration is needed to complete the turn. She can see the crosswalk is clear and can proceed safely through the intersection. Let's look at the turn once again in real time. Head and eyes moving. Positive control of the steering wheel. Enter intersection on a green light. Keep vehicle parallel to the crosswalk. Turn once you reach the pivot point. Slight acceleration to maintain momentum. It's that simple. Square your turns at every intersection. Whether you're dead heading back to the yard, you have a standing room capacity load, or you're in your private vehicle. Always, always square your turns for safety. Thank you from the entire Capital Metro family, where we are serious about safety.
Welcome to the winter driving video. Winter brings on adverse weather and drastic changes to driving conditions. As a professional driver, you'll need to be able to adjust your driving performance to accommodate winter weather driving conditions. Because of this, you need to double down on your defensive driving habits and pay extra attention to high hazard situations. To prepare yourself to operate in the cold and possible ice or snow, you'll need to make sure you get plenty of rest when you are off to help prepare yourself both physically and mentally. As the professional operator, you must be rested, alert, and ready to work. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time to get to work and know your alternate routes in case the weather keeps you from traveling your normal routes. A proper pre-chip is crucial when it's cold because the colder temperatures can affect your vehicle differently in the winter than in the summertime. Give a thorough check of your vehicle, paying close attention to things like your windshield wipers and lighting. Make sure all your heating equipment is working properly and anticipate a plan for what to do if you get stuck or break down. Pay close attention to tire condition. Tire pressure will drop with colder weather, so make sure it's good and you have plenty of tread on all tires, and make sure your tread is not below the wear bars. Tread depth should be even from sidewall to sidewall. 4/32 of an inch on front on the steering axle and 2/32 inch on all others, including the rear axle. Snow and ice is the obvious danger when driving, but you need to also look out for black ice that forms when rain or snow falls. Whenever the temperature climbs above freezing, some will melt. When the temperature freezes again, ice will form, creating a thin layer of ice that is hard to see or may just look wet, but is definitely there and very slick. Freezing rain can also cause a hazard, hitting the ground and quickly creating a layer of ice. Starting and stopping on ice or snow can also be slick. When stopped, the tires on your vehicle may be warm and will melt the ice or snow, adding water to an already slick surface, so make sure you adjust your driving accordingly. Even the gradual crown of the road can cause your bus to lose traction, most likely when stopping at bus stops. Stopping on an incline can cause you to lose traction and slide back or forward, depending on which way you're facing on the incline. Rain can reduce traction up to 55%, and depending on how much rain there is, you could get flooding. Follow these tips to mitigate the hazard of driving in the rain. Slow down by at least 25%. Increase following distance to at least 6 seconds. Slow down, especially when approaching bus stops so you don't splash the customers. Look out for areas prone to flooding and avoid driving through deep water. Use defrosters to keep your windshield clean. Be ready for road spray when passing or following other vehicles. Check wiper blades for sign of wear during your pre-chip inspection. Check tires for proper tread and air pressure. Improperly inflated tires could cause skids. Increase your following distance by 2 or 3 seconds. Avoid hard braking to prevent skids. Watch for stalled vehicles. Look for customers who might be waiting in a sheltered area who will run out to catch the bus. Do not drive through deep water. If you're unsure of the depth of the water, do not go through the water. Observe other vehicles going through the water to help determine its depth. Snow reduces traction up to 75%. Here are some of the ways driving conditions can be affected by snow and what you can do. Reduce your speed by 50%. Increase following distance to 7 seconds, greater on the highways. Use windshield wipers to defrost to keep windows and mirrors clear. Turn on your headlights. Start slowly. Release the accelerator if the wheels begin to spin. Start braking much sooner than normal conditions. Let up on the brakes and reapply if wheels lock up and the bus starts to skid. If you start to skid, gently turn the wheel into the skid and ease off the accelerator and brakes. Ice and sleet also requires extra attention and is the most dangerous weather condition to drive in. Your traction is reduced by 85%. If you start to skid, gently turn the wheel into the skid. Ease off the accelerator and brakes. Increase following distance to 8 seconds, greater when on the highway. You also need to think about how other drivers are reacting to winter conditions. They may not be as cautious as you are and could be driving carelessly in slick conditions. You will need to be constantly alert and thoroughly scanning your environment. Be ready to react and expect the unexpected. There also may be snow removal equipment you may encounter and have to look out for. Just remember to reduce your speed and slow down early and gradually. Watch out for bridges and overpasses and shaded areas where ice appears first because of the colder temperature in those areas. The snow and ice will also obscure lane striping and make it hard to see the edges of the roadway. Next, and very important, are your passengers and their safety. Winter adds additional hazards such as thick winter clothing that hinders movement and head and ear coverings that, although keep passengers warm, can limit sight and hearing effectiveness. This could come into play when they need to see a winter hazard or possibly hear a warning from you about an icy condition as they step off or on the bus. Pedestrians will also become distracted with the cold weather, trying to stay warm and dry, and may not be paying attention to their surroundings. They can be covering their faces and huddling under umbrellas as they cross intersections or get close to areas where vehicles are moving around. This could be very dangerous in slick, adverse weather conditions. It's your job to make sure you give the passengers plenty of space to safely get on and off the bus and avoid any potential slip and fall hazard. You should be looking ahead at each stop to anticipate the ground condition where passengers will be entering and exiting the vehicle. You may have to stop outside of your normal stopping zones to ensure safe entering and exit of the vehicle, and the doors and ramps can safely be operated. Always make sure you keep all walking surfaces clear of ice and snow. Keep in mind these important fundamentals and remember to practice safe driving habits during winter driving. This will keep you, your passengers, and everyone else on the road safe so you can provide excellent customer service.
Slips, trips, and falls are no laughing matter. In fact, they're one of the leading causes of injury on the job, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Fortunately, by using a few common sense strategies, you can greatly reduce the number of slips, trips, and falls at your company. That helps limit workplace injuries and minimize lost workdays. The first thing to do is investigate every slip, trip, and fall, no matter how minor it seems. Your investigation can reveal dangers that could result in a major incident next time. The investigation should focus on where incidents typically occur. These include doorways, ramps, cluttered hallways, places with heavy traffic or uneven surfaces, and areas where wetness or spills are common. In addition to investigating all incidents, be sure to have the right type of floor covering in place. There are a number of things to consider. These include
what kind of spills might occur, the kind of equipment that we have, and the fluids that may be around that equipment. But we also have to think about sanitary conditions, and even noise might be a concern because if it's too noisy, then employees cannot hear warnings. Another consideration would be areas with heavy foot traffic.
You might also want to consider slip-resistant mats for extra protection where spills are likely. Some mats even help guide water, grease, and other fluids away from the walking surface. The third strategy is to outfit employees with slip-resistant footwear, especially if they work where surfaces are wet or greasy. Employees who need to move rapidly from one type of floor to another would also find slip-resistant footwear helpful. The fourth strategy is to train employees how to deal with spills and cluttered walkways. Make sure employees are aware that they should keep aisles clear and floors clean, and have managers post signs to warn people about slippery areas. Managers should also remind employees, if you drop it, pick it up. If you spill it, wipe it up. And go where you are looking and look where you are going. Not every slip, trip, or fall is the result of a wet or cluttered floor. Sometimes poor lighting is the cause, or it may be how an employee acts. You can minimize these types of falls by making sure there's adequate light and showing people how to change their behavior.
Some tips that we may offer to help employees change their behavior would be to use your feet as a probe. Keep your head up when walking so that you can maintain your natural center of gravity. But also you have to be aware of your surroundings. Always know when things are changing so that you can react appropriately. If you do find yourself falling, be very conscious of what you're doing to help stop that fall.
It's also good to advise employees against carrying items that block their view. Use these 4 strategies to reduce slips, trips, and falls at your company. It's good for your employees, and it's good for your business.
In December 2019, there was a cluster of pneumonia cases in the city of Wuhan in China. Some of the early cases had reported visiting or working in a seafood and live animal market in Wuhan. Investigations found that the disease was caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. The disease was subsequently named COVID-19. COVID-19 spread within China and to the rest of the world. On 30 January 2020, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. In this video, we'll take a quick look at what is currently known about COVID-19. Keep in mind that this is a new disease, and what's known is rapidly evolving and might change in the future. So what is a coronavirus? Coronaviruses are a large group of viruses. They consist of a core of genetic material surrounded by a lipid envelope with protein spikes. This gives it the appearance of a crown. Crown in Latin is called corona, and that's how these viruses get their name. There are different types of coronaviruses that cause illness in animals and humans. In humans, coronaviruses can cause respiratory infections ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases. These include the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, first identified in China in 2003, the Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus that was first identified in Saudi Arabia in 2012, and SARS-CoV-2, the name of the virus that causes COVID-19 that was first reported in December 2019. So, where did this new virus come from? It's known that coronaviruses circulate in a range of animals. Sometimes these viruses can make the jump from animals to humans. This is called a spillover and could be due to a range of factors, such as mutations in the virus or increased contact between humans and animals. For example, MERS-CoV is known to be transmitted from camels, and SARS-CoV from civet cats. The animal reservoir of the new coronavirus is not known yet. How does the disease spread? The disease can spread from person to person through droplets, when an infected person releases those droplets through coughing, talking, or sneezing, for example, when close to another person. It can also spread when infected droplets land on objects, and when another person touches them and then touches their eyes, nose, or mouth. What are the symptoms? The incubation period, which is the time taken from exposure to the virus and development of symptoms, is on average 5 to 6 days, but can range from 1 to 14 days. There can be a range of symptoms, from very mild to severe. Some people may not develop symptoms. Common symptoms include fever, fatigue, and respiratory symptoms such as cough, sore throat, and shortness of breath. Some people reported loss of their sense of taste or smell, and some may develop a skin rash. In more severe cases, there could be pneumonia, organ failure, and sometimes death. About 80% of cases recover from the disease without needing special treatment. But there are some people who are at risk of serious illness. They include older people or people with underlying medical problems, such as chronic respiratory disease, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, or cancer. How can we tell whether someone is infected? The infection is commonly diagnosed by a test called reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction, generally known as PCR. This test identifies the virus based on its genetic fingerprint. There's also a blood test that can check for antibodies against the virus, which may show that someone was infected in the past. How is it treated? The treatment for COVID-19 is mainly supportive care. Medicines against the virus are currently under investigation. How do we prevent transmission of the virus? There are a number of effective ways to prevent the spread of the disease. These include covering your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing with a flexed elbow or tissue, and throwing the tissue in a closed bin immediately after use. Wash hands regularly with soap and water or an alcohol-based hand rub, maintaining at least 1 meter distance from people, and the appropriate use of masks and personal protective equipment, especially in health settings. It's important to stay home if you're feeling unwell and to call a hotline or your medical professional. But if you have a fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, seek medical care early and share your travel history or contact with someone unwell with your healthcare provider. In some areas, governments have implemented specific physical and social distancing measures to prevent the spread of the outbreak. It's important to follow their advice. Vaccines to prevent COVID-19 are currently under development, and scientists around the world are working hard to make this happen. That's a quick look at this emerging infectious disease. We're still learning about this virus every day, and what's known may change. So please, check the website below for the most up-to-date information.
What you need to know. Anyone can have mild to severe symptoms. Older adults and people who have severe underlying medical conditions like heart or lung disease or diabetes seem to be at a higher risk for developing more serious complications from COVID-19 illness. People with COVID-19 have had a wide range of symptoms reported, ranging from mild symptoms to severe illness. Symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. People with these symptoms may have COVID-19. Fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headaches. They may also experience the following: new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting, and diarrhea. This list does not include all possible symptoms. The CDC will continue to update this list as we learn more about COVID-19. What is social distancing? Social distancing, also called physical distancing, means keeping a safe space between yourself and other people who are not from your household. To practice social or physical distancing, stay at least 6 feet, about 2 arms length, from other people who are not from your household in both indoor and outdoor spaces. Social distancing should be practiced in a combination with other everyday preventative actions to reduce the spread of COVID-19, including wearing masks, avoiding touching your face with unwashed hands, and frequently washing your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. COVID-19 spreads mainly among people who are in close contact, within about 6 feet, for a prolonged period. Spread happens when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, and droplets from their mouth or nose are launched into the air and land in the mouths or noses of people nearby. The droplets can also be inhaled into lungs. Recent studies indicate that people who are infected but do not have symptoms likely also play a role in the spread of COVID-19. Since people can spread the virus before they know they are sick, it is important to stay at least 6 feet away from others when possible, even if you or they do not have any symptoms. Social distancing is especially important for people who are at higher risk for severe illness from COVID-19. If you are sick with COVID-19, have symptoms consistent with COVID-19, or have been in close contact with someone who has COVID-19, it is important to stay home and away from other people until it is safe to be around others. COVID-19 can live for hours or days on a surface, depending on factors such as sunlight, humidity, and the type of surface. It may be possible that a person can get COVID-19 by touching a surface or object that has had the virus on it and then touching their own mouth, nose, or eyes. However, this is not thought to be the main way the virus spreads. Social distancing helps limit opportunities to come in contact with contaminated surfaces and infected people outside the home. Although the risk of severe illness may be different for everyone, anyone can get and spread COVID-19. Everyone has a role to play in slowing down the spread and protecting themselves, their family, and their community. In addition to practicing everyday steps to prevent COVID-19, keeping space between you and others is one of the best tools we have to avoid being exposed to this virus and slowing its spread in communities. Here are some tips for social distancing. When going out in public, it's important to stay at least 6 feet away from other people and wear a mask to slow the spread of COVID-19. Consider the following tips for practicing social distancing when you decide to go out. Know before you go. Before going out, know and follow the guidance from local public health authorities where you live. Prepare for transportation. Consider social distancing options to travel safely when running errands or commuting to and from work. For example, only visit stores selling household essentials in person when you absolutely need to, and stay at least 6 feet away from others who are not from your household while shopping and in lines. If possible, use drive-through, curbside pickup, or delivery services to limit face-to-face contact with others. Maintain physical distance between yourself and delivery service providers during exchanges and wear a mask. Choose safe social activities. It is possible to stay socially connected with friends and family who don't live in your home by calling, using video chat, or staying connected through social media. If meeting others in person, for example, at small outdoor gatherings, yard or driveway gathering with a small group of friends or family members, stay at least 6 feet from others who are not from your household. Follow these steps and stay safe if you will be participating in personal and social activities outside your home. Keep distance at event and gatherings. It is safest to avoid crowded places and gatherings where it may be difficult to stay at least 6 feet away from others who are not from your household. If you're in a crowded space, try to keep 6 feet of space between yourself and others at all times, and wear a mask. Masks are especially important in times when physical distancing is difficult. Pay attention to any physical guides, such as tape markings on floors or signs on walls directing attendees to remain at least 6 feet apart from each other in lines or at other times. Allow other people 6 feet of space when you pass by them in both indoor and outdoor settings. All of this information has been provided by the CDC, and we hope you can use it to keep you and your coworkers safe at work and your family and friends safe at home. Hand hygiene. Proper hand hygiene is an important infection control measure. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer containing at least 60% alcohol. Wash hands with soap and water or use hand sanitizer before and after wearing gloves. And whether you wear gloves or not, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth to limit possible exposure to germs. Key times to clean, disinfect hands in general include before, during, and after preparing food, before eating food, after using the toilet, after blowing your nose, coughing, or sneezing. Additional times to clean/disinfect hands on the job include before and after work shifts, before and after work breaks, after touching frequently touched surfaces, before and after wearing gloves, before and after providing care for another person who needs assistance, after putting on, touching, or removing cloth face coverings. And remember, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Following these tips and creating good hand hygiene habits will help reduce the risk of transmitting dangerous viruses. Hello, MV employees. The CDC recently released some new guidelines on how to select, wear, and clean your mask. I'd like to spend the next few minutes going over those guidelines with you. CDC recommends that you wear masks in public settings around people who don't live in your household and when you can't stay 6 feet away from others. Masks help stop the spread of COVID-19 to others. Here's an overview of what we'll go over. Wear masks with 2 or more layers to stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear the mask over your nose and mouth and secure it under your chin. Masks should be worn by people 2 years and older. Masks should not be worn by children younger than 2, people who have trouble breathing, or people who cannot remove the mask without assistance. Do not wear masks intended for healthcare workers, for example, N95 respirators. When selecting a mask, there are many choices. Here are some do's and don'ts. Do choose masks that have 2 or more layers of washable, breathable fabric. Completely cover your nose and mouth. Fit snugly against the sides of your face and don't have gaps. Do not choose masks that are made of fabric that makes it hard to breathe, for example, vinyl. Have exhalation valves or vents which allow virus particles to escape. Are intended for healthcare workers, including N95 respirators or surgical masks. Caution: gaiters and face shields. Evaluation for both of these is ongoing, but effectiveness is unknown at this time. If you wear glasses, find a mask that fits closely over your nose or one that has a nose wire to limit fogging. For children, be sure you are able to find a mask that is made for children. If you can't find a mask made for children, check to be sure that the mask fits snugly over the nose and mouth and under the chin. Do not put on children younger than 2 years old. Here's how to wear your mask. Wear a mask correctly and consistently for the best protection. Be sure to wash your hands before putting on a mask. Do not touch the mask when wearing it. Do wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth and secure it under your chin. Fit snugly against the sides of your face. Do not wear a mask around your neck, on your forehead, under your nose, only on your nose, on your chin, dangling from one ear, or on your arm. Here's how to take the mask off. Step 1. Carefully untie the strings behind your head or stretch the ear loops. Step 2. Handle only by the ear loops or ties. Step 3. Fold outside corners together. Step 4. Be careful not to touch your eyes, nose, and mouth when removing and wash hands immediately after removing. Here's how to clean your masks. Masks should be washed regularly. Always remove masks correctly and wash your hands after handling or touching a used mask. Include your mask with your regular laundry. Use regular laundry detergent and the warmest appropriate water setting for the cloth used to make the mask. Use the highest heat setting and leave it in the dryer until completely dry. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Find more information on how to protect yourself against the coronavirus at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Or visit the MV Transportation SharePoint site and find the link NV Coronavirus Response Plan and click on it for more information. What is quarantine? Quarantine is used to keep someone who might have been exposed to COVID-19 away from others. Quarantine helps prevent spread of disease that can occur before a person knows they are sick or if they are infected with the virus without feeling symptoms. Employees in quarantine should stay home, separate themselves from others, and monitor their health. When should you quarantine yourself from others? You should self-monitor yourself for signs and symptoms of COVID-19. If you feel ill or exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19, you should not report to work. If you begin feeling ill while in the workplace, you are to isolate from others, send a notification to your supervisor, and immediately leave the workplace. You should immediately seek medical care. You will be contacted by your supervisor with further instructions. MV Transportation has developed a set of protocols that includes contact tracing guidelines to communicate with others that may have been potentially exposed if they were in close contact with an employee who is sick, according to the CDC guidelines. If you have tested positive for COVID-19 or been diagnosed as COVID-19 positive by a healthcare provider within the last 14 days, you will not be permitted to enter the workplace and you'll need to isolate at home. If you have been in close contact with anyone who has been diagnosed as infected with, or is being screened or monitored for COVID-19, or has been advised by a healthcare professional to quarantine within the last 14 days, you will not be permitted to enter the workplace and will need to self-quarantine. MV Transportation will maintain confidentiality of screening information, which are designed only for COVID-19 related purposes while it remains a direct threat and/or we continue to be in a state of emergency. This is in an effort to maintain a safe environment as we focus on the health and well-being of our employees and the community. More information on COVID-19 can be found on our MV Coronavirus Response website and the CDC website.